July 16th. This is the PFF Forecast. We've got a fun one here. We're going to redraft the 2017 NFL Draft, first 20 picks. We're going to talk about some of the free agent signings very quickly. And then we have a special interview from the Vault PFT Commenter from the Super Bowl. We recorded this a while back, but it's awesome. We're going to play that at the end, and Quibi as well. So let's rock. All right, we're fresh off Derrick Henry, like fresh off of it. I haven't tweeted about it, you'll notice. It's just awful. Like, people either have a really strong take about how it's a dumb idea, that's been beaten into the ground, but now it's honestly to the point where there's just as many people condemning those that say this is a bad move from a team building standpoint. So we're going to go one sentence each. We'll start with Derrick Henry. What's your one sentence on Derrick Henry?
Good for Derrick Henry. Hopefully the Titans don't view it as a sunk cost later on.
Yeah, that would be my thing. Is like, as someone that thinks the Titans can be really good this year, I hope that it is not something that takes away from their passing game this year, and they continue to leverage Ryan Tannehill. But great for Derrick Henry. Let's go to Myles Garrett.
I think they're in a better position than the Chiefs are defensively.
That's interesting.
I think that they bought into the one really valuable player on their defense, and he's a very good football player. And I'm excited to see sort of what he's going to do for them moving forward.
Okay, I have an interesting take here. So did they need to extend him this year? They have to do it this year. And the reason I say that is when you pay a defensive player this much money, you have to have a good quarterback to make it worthwhile, for it to be able to take you from 10 to 11 wins, from 11 to 12, or else you're the Chicago Bears. So yes, I have way more faith in Baker Mayfield than I do Mitch Trubisky, but I also, like Myles Garrett, like, he had to be taken off the field because he assaulted a player last year. So those two things would lead me to want to see another year, both of Baker Mayfield and honestly of Myles Garrett. And then I'd be more willing to do it. But you're right. I mean, he is phenomenal when he is actually playing football. Chris Jones, your boy.
I think the Chiefs did as good of a job as they could have given the constraints of having to re-sign him. I would have tried to trade him, but they were under, I think, some unique circumstances with the DeForest Buckner trade. There wasn't really a market for Chris Jones in the trade market. So kudos to Patrick Mahomes for making this possible, frankly. And I don't know if the Chiefs will regret this in the future, but they have a good football player now playing the interior defensive line for 4 more years for them. So I don't know. I would have rather them trade him, but it is what it is.
That is my salient takeaway, is you're locked in to a really high amount of money on your defensive line when your team is built around passing the football. So if you lose any of that juice, you could be in trouble. They have a couple of players who they have on really good deals, like Mitchell Schwartz. They have Tyrann Mathieu, who's younger than I think most people believe, because he's been in the league for a while, but is a massively valuable player for them. And they drafted a running back instead of, say, taking a wide receiver in this draft. So it could get to the point where in a couple of years, we're looking at this and going, man, like, they're actually kind of crunched for talent, which would suck because they have Patrick Mahomes. All right, last one. Dak not getting a deal.
Yeah, I mean, this one is interesting. It's clear that they're probably going to. It's clear that they're probably going to, do the Kirk Cousins route with him, which will ultimately make Dak Prescott really rich, but it might hurt the Dallas franchise moving forward.
I can't wrap my head around Dak wanting to leave Dallas. It's a great place to be a quarterback, honestly, right? If you can just be decent, which he obviously has been. He was more than decent last year. They have such a good infrastructure from an offensive standpoint. He can make so much money by being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback in a good offense for them. He's so marketable. So I actually think this is a win for him because he's going to have a chance with a head coach that likes to throw the ball to put up some amazing stats this year. I feel like they end up getting suckered into paying him next year. They're not going to ride with Andy Dalton. Like, they're not going to just invest all this money in all these win now players and pivot. So I don't know. I think it's a huge failure on their part, though, right? Like, this really shines a light on team building and why, picking up all these ancillary pieces before your quarterback are not the greatest.
It's going to be a really tough one for them, I think. Yeah, just because, Dak's never going to live up to, like, they've already put the bar at an impossibly high mark, and he's never going to live up to it, which is just unfortunate, right? Because he's a good quarterback, and with all these guys retiring, it's going to be tricky for them. So let's hope he blows it up and makes it into an even harder circumstance next year.
Okay. I'm excited for this because we just talked about Myles Garrett. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, signed that amazing deal a couple of days ago. Both drafted in 2017. Deshaun Watson might get extended, drafted in 2017. Mitchell Trubisky, who did not get extended and won't be getting extended by the Chicago Bears in all likelihood, also in this draft. My Niners had the second overall pick in this draft. We ended up trading back with the Bears, of course, to pick Solomon Thomas. And so there are two picks that just blow my mind from this draft. Solomon Thomas, and then, of course, the Jags taking Leonard Fournette. And I went back and I read a couple of pre-draft, a couple of mock drafts. And I think it was Mike Mayock had the Jags taking Fournette and talking about how they had to get a playmaker on offense. They
do. They still do.
They still do. I can't believe they took Leonard Fournette. He was so good at LSU the year before he came out, right? And then that next year was like, oh, actually, like Darius Geis looks better than he does. But people were so stuck on what he was, that year before as a sophomore, I guess, that it just carried. That also, the other really good running backs from this draft, honestly, Alvin Kamara, and then, of course, Christian McCaffrey. What were some of the things that you remember thinking about and or reading? Because there are a couple of things that stick out to me, but I'm curious from your memory what remains.
I remember the Fournette. I remember this was even before we were very, staunch on running backs. I just remember tweeting out bad teams stay bad. That was something I certainly thought. I mean, the Mahomes one for me was the thing. I mean, I think I had a decent amount on him going before 15.5. And then, Kansas City goes and gets him. It was sort of the perfect marriage. The one that I thought that could have happened was Arizona, right? There was, Palmer was going into his last season as a starter. We didn't know that at the time. But there was this question of, okay, where is Trubisky going to go? And then, Mahomes and Watson. I mean, it's so funny back in the day now, people said that Watson had sort of irredeemable arm strength, going into this. And so he ends up going 12th, which is just crazy. I mean, we look at Watson has actually accounted for more touchdowns than Mahomes has in the NFL, 85 to 80, not including postseason. So it's been really interesting to watch the quarterbacks in this group. But then you had a bunch of good players, and you started to see sort of the whole, coverage versus pass rush. I mean, Garrett and Thomas, the average of those two have probably accumulated one war at most. Yep. Whereas you look at Jamal Adams, you look at
Marshawn Lattimore,
Marlon Humphrey, Malik Hooker has even had a pretty good career. Adoree Jackson has played for 3 winning teams. Yep. Usually Derek Barnett, he did get a sack fumble in the Super Bowl. That was pretty cool. Jonathan Allen's been, it's fine. Charles Harris, nothing. But, all the defensive, Tre'Davious White's been great. Jabril Peppers. I mean, Josh picked him in the second round of our redraft, so he must be good. Chaco Charlton was a first-round pick, so it really did highlight how, some of these guys are not really that impact players, in the defensive line, even though we think of them as sure things. And defensive backs really are adding value, especially in this draft.
So we're going to draft based on the teams that had these picks originally. So no trades. And we're drafting them as if they're going to be rookies right now, but like already kind of how their careers have gone through 3 years, right? So the real big question for me, I had two in going through, and we haven't talked about our strategies for this before. So, and I was about to ask you, but I just didn't. I wanted to wait. My big question is how you will value running backs that we know are good already, right? Yeah. That have accumulated wins above replacement numbers in a season that are, with McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara have had 2 seasons that have been really amazing. And, relative to guys in positions that are more valuable that also have more longevity, how will you value those guys? So I don't want you to give away like where you have them on your big board, but was that something that you thought about?
Yeah, because I don't want to take one, but I also, there's probably a point at which having somebody, assuming a rookie deal, having somebody like McCaffrey on a rookie deal will be worthwhile,
Right.
Even in this draft, it was Cook, Kamara,
Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt. The
engine
rushing leader when he was, when he was on the Kansas City Chiefs as a rookie. So, but they're not that high on my big board. I'll just say.
It's interesting because like Christian McCaffrey last season, he's earned the most WAR of all running backs each of the past 2 seasons, 5th as a rookie, has been worth about 1/3 of a win above replacement. And if you said, and he's been pretty consistent there. If you knew you weren't going to pay him a second contract, how does that change? So like, are you thinking, okay, I would draft him, I'd get 5 years out of him, I'm definitely not paying him a second contract, versus a guy like, say like Myles Garrett, right? Where you go, I'm going to probably have to pay this guy a second contract. It's going to be massive. Yeah, he's going to be really good. He's going to be pretty darn valuable. I don't know. I just think it's a super interesting question because I put McCaffrey, he's on my board. Like, I think there are guys that I would take him over in this, potentially in the top 20 here. Like, he's really good. He's really freaking good.
Here's the thing, though. You're paying these draft picks. You're buying the tail too. Right. So you're like, the tail for these guys is not that big because you're not going to sign them to a big deal if you're making, sound decisions. Mm-hmm. So yes, in some sense, you're paying for a guy who, you can discard, but is that risk reward worth it? Because you could get a Fournette, right? And Fournette could play his way out of being a, highly priced guy. So whereas
yes, but we already know the first 3 seasons of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
but moving forward, even then though, like, I don't know, take Watson. Watson's tail is just so fat, right? You make a great point. Obviously, I'm not taking Christian McCaffrey over Deshaun Watson, but McCaffrey's 18th in WAR out of this squeeze between 2 Rams, Cooper Kupp and John Johnson, over the last 3 years. So he certainly is in the conversation to be taken here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So let's just get into it. Do you want the first pick, or should I take the first pick?
I'll take Mahomes at first. How's that?
Yeah, so the Cleveland Browns take Patrick Mahomes. And it's interesting, no one was considering a quarterback here. It was basically like Myles Garrett, signed, sealed, delivered, right? Man, it's always weird to me, like how bad must have people considered this draft class from a quarterback perspective to have just not even considered, a quarterback, right? In the 21st century, like in the 2010s, people were like, the quarterbacks are so bad that we're just we're going to exclude them. To me, that's ridiculous. Like, and maybe part of it is that we hadn't seen Patrick Mahomes yet.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's very possible. Like we hadn't seen a player sort of hit that. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I have the Niners. I have pick number 2, and this is going to change the course of the 49ers franchise. It's obviously Deshaun Watson. And it's interesting that Watson, I'm trying to think back to it. I remember the issues with Watson were in people's minds, like he threw jump balls up to really talented receivers at Clemson. And what you said, which is that his arm strength wasn't quite there. But I don't know, man, there has to count for something that he literally, like, he might be the grittiest player at the quarterback position out there. Like what he did in that Alabama game, in the championship game to beat Alabama, I feel like has really carried, right? Like he's just that guy that is literally never dead. He's got a little bit of Russell Wilson in him. So I'm excited to take him at number 2.
Yeah, I think imagine the Niners being in such a great spot with this. But I mean, they made the Super Bowl last year, so they're fine. But okay, I'm Chicago now, and I'm not.
This is where it gets interesting.
I'm not going to trade up to take Trubisky at 2. Man. I think this player is a singular enough player for this to make sense. I'm going to take George Kittle.
Fuck. Damn it. Man.
Because there are a lot of other players who have have been more valuable in some ways, but like above, I don't know. I like Kittle. I know people are like, well, how good can he be as a tight end? Blah blah.
Yep.
No, I think this is the pick.
It's always good to make the person picking after you pissed, I feel like, right?
Right.
I thought you were going to take Chris Godwin. So is the argument here for you is you said singular player. George Kittle is just so much more unique than Chris Godwin is in your mind?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there were some issues with Godwin. I mean, Timo pointed this out, which I thought was really good, which was that, Godwin struggles against man coverage relative to, other things. There are just a little bit of some issues there that I have, there are just some issues I have with Godwin in that way. They're not huge, but they're something.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a bunch of different ways I could go here. There's Jamal Adams. He's been fantastic. There's Godwin, as we mentioned. There's Marlon Humphrey. There's Christian McCaffrey. There's Myles Garrett. There's TJ Watt. A lot of really good players. Travis White. But I think I'm going to go with Chris Godwin, and the Jags go from Leonard Fournette to Chris Godwin here. It's just a huge boon for them. The thing with Godwin, honestly, that worries me the most is Jameis Winston just firing passes downfield with reckless abandon gives him an opportunity to look better, perhaps, than he really is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, that's fair.
That being said, he was more valuable than George Kittle was last year in wins above replacement. So. Yeah,
he was the most valuable receiver in the league. So it makes a lot of sense that we would have him in that spot. I'm going to go, and this might be the first. Well, no, he's going to go a spot before he originally went, but I'm going to go with Jamal Adams at 5 to the Tennessee Titans. Corey Davis not taken here, despite Steve's Palazzolo's. Adams only has 2 interceptions. I was interested to see that, but 12 sacks, NFL sacks, and then just a boatload of hurries and really good covering tight ends, and a lot like Kittle, where you look at that and you're like, okay, this guy is a singular sort of player. If Derwin James didn't exist in the NFL, I mean, he would legitimately be a singular player at this point.
All right. I like that pick. I think I had Adams a little further down here. I valued corners a little more highly than safety. So one of the guys I'm thinking about taking here, or would have taken ahead of Adams in terms of defensive players. Let's see here. I'm going to go with Marlon Humphrey, cornerback.
Yep.
The Ravens end up taking him. I thought this was honestly one of the steals of the draft.
Yeah. Well, I think the Ravens believe so too. Just talking to some of their people, it was sort of Humphrey was considered a top 10 player by them, and he's turned out to be one. I mean, inside, outside, just a really good football player.
That was the Jets, by the way. So it's gone Browns, Mahomes, Niners, Watson, Bears, Kittle, Jags, Godwin, Titans get Jamal Adams, and the New York Jets just took Marlon Humphrey.
People are going to not like this pick.
Your Chargers?
My Chargers, we're going to go – they already have Mike Williams. They took Mike Williams in this draft. I am going to go with a better receiver who is big and physical and jumpy, as I like to think, and I'm going to go with Kenny Golladay.
I like that pick. I had Golladay as – that was the other guy that I was thinking about with Marlon Humphrey. I was kind of hoping you would just overlook him and he'd be there for me.
He'd be at 8.
Yeah.
So the Panthers took – okay, yeah. So Chargers went Mike Williams there, and the Panthers went McCaffrey. Who are the Panthers going with this time?
It's not going to be Christian McCaffrey, although somehow they took a running back and got a guy that was top 20 in value. Man, this is tricky. The Panthers' huge issue has been that they can't cover anybody. So I think I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Marshawn Lattimore. And this pick was tough. I'm deciding between him and Tre'Davious White. And the reason I went Marshawn Lattimore is, I'm doing the thing that I told people not to do, which is to go back and think about, what they were kind of right when they came into the league. But Lattimore was so good his rookie year. So I'm chasing
and his absence, and when he hasn't been good, I mean, it's really hurt the Saints defense, even down to when, Adam Thielen went over the top Patrick Robinson in the playoffs. I mean, it really ended their season. The one, Lattimore's out for one play, and it really tanks them. Okay, here's what the Bengals need, and they've needed it for a long time. And instead of going with John Ross, instead of going with John Ross at 9, I'm going to go with Ryan Ramczyk.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Ramczyk's been the second highest graded tackle over the last 2 seasons. By the way you just spelled Ramczyk is incredible.
I'm bad. But
all right, I'm gonna spell this out for you. This is how Eric spelled Ramczyk. Ramceek.
Ramkeek.
Yeah. Wow. Not even remotely close. Zyk. All right, the Buffalo Bills, who traded back in this draft with the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, can you imagine if the Bills had Patrick Mahomes instead of Josh Allen? Wouldn't be able to throw the ball as far. It'd be a huge bummer. I'm going to go with – who did the Bills end up taking here?
Well, they traded for the Mahomes pick and then got Tre'Davious White in 2017.
That's right. And I actually think –
you're going to go with White here, aren't you?
Man, this is tough. This is where I want to take Garrett. I know people are already have logged off at this point because Garrett hasn't gone already.
He's a good pick there.
Yeah, I think I will go with Myles Garrett to Buffalo. And I love Tre'Davious White. He has graded well for us, but not that well. A lot of penalties last year. The really tough thing with Myles Garrett is if he is a top 5 pass rusher, paying him top 5 pass rusher money without a quarterback is really tough. So that would be my issue here, but I'll take Garrett.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to go at 11. I'm going to go
the New Orleans Saints. By the way, New Orleans Saints killed this draft.
Yeah, well, and then the next year they traded up, like they traded this Zaire Alexander pick, Marcus Davenport. So one year we call them geniuses, and the next year we call them.
It's all luck.
It's all luck. Yeah. I'm going to go corner. I'm going to go Trey White at 11. I think that's. I think all the negations there are true, but he's still a good enough player to take here.
All right, the Browns at 12. Couple of options here on the board. So Tre'Davious White is one of the really good corners in this draft. I think there's one that continually flies under the radar, and that's Desmond King. Mm-hmm. But I also look at the Browns and I go, man, they had no receiving options. There are some decent, receivers out there. Man, this is tricky. And they also don't have a pass rush at this point because they don't have Myles Garrett.
Right.
I'm going to go with Desmond King, though, ultimately. Desmond King has just been very, very solid in coverage, and you can't have enough coverage in this league. So I'm taking Desmond King.
Excellent. I'm going to, with the Cardinals pick.
Man, they look back at this draft, man. Mahomes, Watson, Hassan Reddick. Jesus.
Yeah, so the Cardinals could have traded up for Mahomes or Watson. Instead, they got Hassan Reddick to switch positions from edge to interior out of group of 5 Temple. I'm going to actually go back to the line here, and I'm going to go TJ Watt at 13.
I like it.
I think we do have to, at some point in time, respect the fact that, coverage is more valuable, but pass rushing is more stable. So you go with the pass rusher here.
Yep, I agree. And I was very close to taking Watt with the Browns at 12. So at 14, the Philadelphia Eagles, who in this draft took Derek Barnett,
that was the Vikings pick for trading Bradford, by the way.
That's right. Now the Eagles, could use a tackle right now. They certainly didn't need a tackle then. They could use some coverage as well. This is a guy I think that I'm going to go with here at 14 who ended up going in the 4th round, I believe, and that's Eddie Jackson. But a playmaker in the secondary. I love what Eddie Jackson does.
He had a really blow-up 2018, which really sort of helps with that. Yeah, that's a great pick. Okay. Now, I know we struggled last year, but, anytime you can get a 1,400-yard receiver at pick 15, I think you have to do it.
This is the Colts?
Yes, and I'm going to go with Juju Smith-Schuster here at 15. I think that's a solid addition.
The Colts with Juju and T.Y.? That'd be nice. Great.
Well, and Rivers now, and as opposed to, I think he was a product of obviously bad quarterback play, but also injuries that really hurt him. So,
yeah. By the way, does picking Juju change the Colts' destiny? Is Andrew Luck still the quarterback for the Colts if they do this? Man, no, you don't think so?
No.
I hope he comes back.
Because the 2017 Colts were a disaster, right? So they that was the first year he sat out, and then I don't think. Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. I feel like maybe he sees this pick and he goes, man, I'm coming back. I've looked into the future. I'm coming back.
We're trying.
All right. The Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens. And this is, I mean, the guy that they took went way higher. I took him at 6. I took Marlon Humphrey at 6. No longer there for them to take back here at 16, which is where they ultimately took him. Man.
Well, I mean, they run a power running game.
I know.
You can go running back here.
Oh, man. I am going to take a guy who I don't think people would even consider him going in the top 20 just based on like what history has done for the poor guy. But Marcus Williams was really freaking good last year.
He was really good as a rookie.
Yeah.
And then he just had like the really horrible, play against Stephon Diggs in the playoffs. But yeah, that's a good pick.
While you're making your pick, let me actually just pull this up here because I don't think people
realize how good he is.
So
yeah.
Last year he was worth over a half a win above replacement.
Yep.
Like he was very good, and he was worth half a win above replacement as a rookie. So he's been a top 10 safety 2 out of 3 years, which is valuable.
I'm going to take Cooper Kupp here. I think he's a little limited, but as far as production is concerned, especially out of the slot, I think the Rams offense is at their best when Cooper Kupp is at his best. And he's been worth about a win over the course of the last 3 years. To me, I think he's a value there. Even with wide receiver heavy, I think there are days where he's better than Juju. There are days where he's better than some of the guys ahead of him. So.
All right. I'm going to do this for the Tennessee Titans at 18. Derrick Henry not available, unfortunately.
No. They just drafted him a year ago. So you have to be a little careful there.
Not available. And I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey, playmaker for the Tennessee Titans.
You're going to draft a player who's like not that good at wide receiver to play wide receiver.
How much do you hate that pick, by the way?
I don't. It's whatever. At this point in time, at this point in time, I'm either picking. So this is my last pick because we're only doing like the first 20. Here's my last. Here are my thoughts on the last pick. Adoree Jackson, which he's got his problems, but he's a good returner. He covers pretty well. I'm also thinking about Zach Cunningham, who would be the first linebacker. He moves really well, good against the run, covers fine, all that kind of stuff. OJ Howard or Evan Ingram. And again, are those guys big enough difference makers for me to be like, you absolutely don't take a running back here? No. So I'm fine with this pick. As I'm going to go with Adoree Jackson, though, because I think he's a big enough difference maker here at 19. In fact, I think he was taken right at 18. If I'm not mistaken, in this draft, and
by the Titans.
And I think he's overperformed his draft position. So this is a pretty decent value.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Adoree Jackson fan, but I would.
Among Adoree Jackson fans, you're just mad on him.
Yeah, I'm definitely mad. I mean, here's my thing with Christian McCaffrey. I am going to use him, I think, as best he possibly can. I'm obviously not going to run the ball more than I should because I have him. But the dude is awesome. He is an awesome football player. He is the best running back in the NFL by a decent margin. In my opinion, he's been number one most valuable, and he's been more valuable. He's, I believe, been more valuable than Adoree Jackson. I need to check this now. But I think he has been. So I know that you're getting Adoree Jackson potentially for a second contract. But anyways, that's my take. I'm sticking to it. I also love Christian McCaffrey. I've always loved Christian McCaffrey. Okay, the Broncos at 20. I'm going to take Taylor Moton. who was a guard, but has been a pretty valuable tackle, and something the Broncos could use. They ended up taking Garrett Bowles in this position, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So
we went with a guard there, huh?
But he plays tackle.
Okay.
So don't worry. I'm not taking a guard. I'm taking a guy that was labeled a guard.
So if we did this for 2018, would you take Quentin Nelson in this spot and then change him?
I would absolutely give Quentin Nelson a chance to play tackle. Yeah, 100%. I can't believe you wouldn't. Why would you not?
I don't know. That's a good question.
So, but I think look, I'm not ecstatic about taking, a guy that was moved from guard to tackle just because of the way that sounds. But I'm pretty excited to take like a solid offensive tackle at 20. Like that's not a loss in my mind. So I don't know, a couple guys that I was considering. I love Alvin Kamara, so I was thinking about Alvin Kamara and Mike Williams. Were guys that I was. Yeah,
Kamara's. I didn't realize Kamara had 81 receptions in all 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It's sort of interesting. Sort of Chris Davis sort of continuity there. But
actually, you know what? I want to change my pick.
You're gonna go Kamara?
I am. 2
running backs for you in the top 20.
I want to carry that torch.
We're gonna turn code here.
I'm doing it. People cannot call me. I'm going to reference this now until the day I die for when people call me a running back hater. Because I'm not. I just took Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey in the same top 20.
Jeez.
In fairness, Alvin Kamara has been more valuable than Taylor Moton has been. So.
Yep.
I'm covered. Covered in he's been a top 10 running back. I think he was pretty badly hurt last year and still played. So I don't know. I'm at peace with it. You can make fun of me all you want, but I'm at peace with it. All right. We are going to get to the PFT Commenter interview. It's a lot of fun. It was me and Steve Palazzolo in a house in Miami Beach, in South Beach. We had a lot of fun. It's a lot of non-football conversation. It's pretty funny, and the guy's hilarious. Steve does an impersonation of Peter King, and it's incredible. And PFT does his Patrick Mahomes impersonation. So it's really good. You'll want to check it out. Before we get there, I have a Quibi show for you. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Your goal is to decide whether I've made this up or if this is actually a Quibi show. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Amazing artist, jaw-dropping joints, blown minds. Virtuoso Tony Greenhand designs and builds eye-popping smokable creations specifically tailored for stoner celebrity clients. Let's roll with Tony Greenhand. All episodes streaming now.
I've learned not to deny or not to doubt your ability to make those things up. So even though that was pretty amazing, I'm going to say that you made it up.
That is a real Quibi show. Can't believe it. I couldn't believe this was one. I had to read it twice. So there you go. That's your Quibi show. Enjoy PFT, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Peace out.
They're like a stingray. They attack when you don't see them coming. They're like always below the surface. Also very low pad level, the stingray. And you don't see them coming, and then they hit you on the blind side. That's kind of how Shanahan uses the fullback. He's got him coming in, like doing these wham blocks coming across the line. I think what you're seeing right now is the culmination of 2 teams that do it right.
Does that upset you, though? Is that like your favorite band goes mainstream? Is that what it feels like when the fullback becomes an athlete?
Oh, you like fullbacks? What are your 4 favorite neck rolls of all time? Yeah, it's like I'm a fullback hipster in that way. No, I'm happy to see the position kind of make a little bit of a comeback. You guys zig where everyone else zags, or in this case, just run straight downhill while everyone else zags. And it's good to see the position make a comeback. I'm very happy. I'm more than happy to spread the love. You're gonna see. In my case, I'm an athlete first, offensive weapon. I was listed when I tried out for the DC Defenders as offensive weapon / kicker. So I think you're going to see more of these hybrid guys like me coming along and really changing.
Because I've always thought you get a receiver and you put him at running back like Cordell Patterson, but maybe you just get a kicker and you put him at running back. You really throw everyone for a loop. Like, oh, they're punting on 3rd and 2.
The more you can do.
Well, Nick Saban tried to do that, except put a kicker as a fullback, and it didn't really work out well for him.
No, that was
a national title game. That was a mistake.
I got to ask you this: your week here probably looks very different from ours. What's the funniest, craziest, coolest thing you've done so far or gonna do at some point?
I got arrested last night at
last night on Monday?
Just casual drop.
At NFL opening night. I don't know if it was actually an arrest or a detainment. This is an ongoing semantics battle. I don't know, but it sounds way cooler to say that you got arrested. I went full Mrs. Doubtfire. I put on a full prosthetic mask. I had bosoms. I had a wig.
Is that what we're calling them now? 2020?
Yeah, I diped up. I put on a few diapers. Big Cat got dressed up as an old man, and we went in.
So he didn't dress up?
Yeah. He just
went as himself?
Right, he just exercised. He went for a 5-minute jog, and then he was wheezing. He had an oxygen tank, and we were going in. I thought we were good. The credentials that we acquired were not they weren't up to snuff. So I got stopped by security after we were inside for about a half hour, and my wallet was in my purse. So I took my wallet out, and I was like, oh, I actually do have my ACLU card in here. And so I was like, what do I say? Oh, am I being detained? And so I just kept repeating, am I being detained? In an old lady voice. My name is Don Gruden, D-A-W-N, Don Gruden, on my pass. And they took me outside, and one cop wanted to take me to jail. The other wanted to just say, let this person go. They're actually very respectful. I got to give it to the Miami police.
Because you were an old lady, or because they just...
Or did they just respect
They just respected a good fake credential. I don't know. The guy was saying, sir, ma'am, I'm not sure what you'd like me to call you. I don't want to be disrespectful. And I was like, well, that's very nice. Now I feel bad about wasting your time. But I went out, and they were taking me off the premises. One person was like, take him to jail. And the other police officer goes, he's got an ACLU card on him. And so randomly, this card that I had that I totally forgot about in my wallet may have gotten me off last night. So they sent me off into the night, and I went about my way. So I need to talk to Chris. Is he here?
He's not.
Is he sharing?
So we're trying to get Chris to come in.
Okay.
And the plan is right now potentially an end of the week.
Okay.
End of the week arrival.
I've got some demands. So if you could pass that along to him.
Yeah, we could definitely...
do you want to share maybe a demand here, and then we can...
The intellectual property.
It won't transfer over?
I don't.
How many demands do you have? Do you have
I've got
fucking list? 10 commandments? Do you show up with 2 tablets?
Here's a little media tip for you guys. It's always good whenever you sit down with somebody to just have a list of about a dozen demands and things that you need from them in that moment. And that way the relationship gets off to a really good start.
Let's write that down.
That's what I had. That's what I had right here. So
Yeah.
What other demands do we have here?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What's the evergreen commenting community? What's the area of commenting that hasn't been discovered yet that you're secretly on? Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube's never going to go away. Are you talking about the internet comments in general?
Anywhere. If you told me posting Post-it notes to people's lockers.
Is there a certain sport that's untapped?
Old school, analog commenting. Graffiti is the original. Just highways.
Is that going to come back?
That's the original super highways,
it's
just an overpass.
Like the fullback,
Yeah, exactly. I think graffiti should make a comeback. What comment sections am I reading? The sad thing is the comment section is kind of becoming an endangered species. More and more websites are getting rid of them. I don't know if you guys have them at Pro Football Focus.
We got rid of them.
Yeah, I'm sure
we have them on YouTube, though. And the YouTube ones, I agree with you. So they're levels of hell. The lowest level, in my opinion, is YouTube. Because if you're really on there commenting on a YouTube video, I just I can't
And this will end up on YouTube, so comment below.
Comment, subscribe. You know what I'm going to start doing? You guys gave me a good idea. I'm going to start commenting on pornography websites. I'm going to write full blogs on
on the untapped market.
On the YouPorn comment section. Which why do porn sites even have comment sections?
I didn't know they did.
What's the I don't know either. I'll check. I'll have to double check and make sure that.
Do you think they have a comment limit, like a number of characters?
We're going to find out. I'm going to start blogging exclusively on Pornhub.
Look at us spurring next career moments here. PFT, that's great.
I've actually thought about just uploading like the best blocks of the year onto a porn website and just seeing if they flag it as inappropriate content.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder what you'd have to do.
So his mind's already going that way. That's good.
Inappropriate. I was legitimately curious. I thought he was going to say like rugby or something.
Rugby is the next big sport in America. I'm still convinced of that.
More than lacrosse.
More than
Get
lacrosse.
Sam on here. Sam's
More than
our
soccer.
resident Irishman who loves rugby and all that stuff. So that's his thing.
Yeah, it's a fun sport. The U.S. has a long way to go in terms of being competitive in the full side, the 15-a-side game, full rugby union. But we are pretty good at sevens, and that's kind of a more fun sport to watch. 7-minute halves, the games are over fast. There's a lot of scoring, and we've got So we used to basically just build our entire team around former football players and teach them rugby. Now we've actually got players that grew up in the United States playing rugby their whole life, in addition to two really, really world-class speedsters that did play football. There's a winger named Carlin Isles. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he ran something like a 4.1740.
Really? When
he was in college. He was a kick returner, and he was on the Lions practice squad for a little bit. But he's a small guy. He's 5'8", 160, 155. But he's the fastest person I've ever seen on any field. Doesn't matter what sport it is. I watched him play in Hong Kong, and he was so fast, he made me cry. He was faster than I was also on MDMA at the time.
I was going to say, how does that work?
He was running, he was on the field with other world-class sprinters, and he was making them look like they were second graders. And I started laughing so hard that I started crying because a man was fast.
Also because of the...
I don't know. That's unconfirmed.
Have you heard of microdosing? This is really off topic.
I have.
I've been trying to figure out so the idea of microdosing is that you take a little bit of MDMA and it helps your creativity.
MDMA, psilocybin sometimes.
Yep. And the idea is that people in Silicon Valley, big, executives are taking it. Mm-hmm. And I really want to find out who's done it so I can look at their products and be like,
yeah, does this work?
This was the result of your...
I want to know so I can short those companies.
Right, well,
because it seems to me like just an excuse to, it could be one of two things. Either it's just an excuse to take drugs while you work, or it's just rich people being super bored and so insanely they don't have anything else going on in their lives, so they just try to find ways to mess with their own brains all the time.
What if you did it for football play calling and scheme? What if secretly Kyle Shanahan's just been...
They already do that. They already I'm just not going to sleep ever because I'm a football coach. That's
that's
what
right.
I do. That's why Arians doesn't call plays. He gets good night's sleep. That's why he screws up.
They bring in those saltwater tubs.
Yeah, the chambers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one of those one time. They say that if you sleep 1 hour in that thing, it's like getting 3 hours
and you fall
asleep
immediately.
Yeah, it sounds like junk science, but I love junk science. And so
I really want to try.
Feels like the next thing you need to try out here.
Yeah, so I went to this place in New York. ClassPass messed up, and they gave me a bunch of points because
what's ClassPass?
It's this thing where you can try all these different workout things, different classes.
I have
and
heard
stuff.
of this. Yeah.
So they messed up, and they thought I was an influencer in the fitness community for some reason. Which, thank you, ClassPass. I actually really do enjoy the product, but I'm definitely not the standard fitness model. So they gave me all these points, and I'm just using all my points to go to massages and this restorative sleep place, which has one of those chambers in it. I haven't gotten in it, but I did the infrared sauna, which was lovely. They have an altitude chamber, which I want to try, which is you just sit in this thing that looks like a flight simulator, and then they get you up to the equivalent of 10,000 feet above sea level, bring you down to 8,000, then up to 15,000, then down again, and I guess it makes your blood operate at a more efficient level. Again,
we all need this.
I need to experience this. So I think the sleep deprivation one is going to be the next one on my list, and then the altitude chamber.
Still a lot of points to burn.
Still, I got a lot of. It's tough to get rid of all these points when you work out as infrequently as I do.
Did you ever go to any of the classes?
Yeah, I did. I went to a bar class one time, which is like a ballet-inspired
right?
thing. Yeah. It was not a bad workout. I was trying to work on my calves and my leg flexibility.
How's that working for you?
Before the tryout? Actually, not bad. Like my leg is, my groin is no longer pulled after my tryout.
That's
so
good.
It took me about like a week and a half to finally feel normal again. I went to this one. It was like a CrossFit type place, so I was feeling pretty good about going there, knowing that it would be probably evenly distributed, like male, female. I went in, I was the only guy there, and they said on their website, like, we've got showers and stuff for people to use after class, and I was on my way to work afterwards, so I was like, I'm good, because I'm going to need to shower. And then after the class was over, they're just like, okay, here's the shower. And there was just like one shower in one locker room, and I had to share a locker room with like the ladies, and I was like, you know what, this is a bit aggressive. I asked the class, I was like, can I just get my stuff out and leave and let you guys go do your thing? They were happy to get me out of there.
Let's try this out. So, you know Peter King, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
So I'd like you to meet Peter King here.
Okay.
Peter King really wants to get a Pat Mahomes interview, but Pat Mahomes has kind of been standing him up.
Okay.
So I'm going to just kind of sit back and relax. And Peter, I'm going to let you talk to Patrick.
Patrick, okay.
So Pat, I'm watching Thursday
That's
night
a really good Peter King impression.
football.
Hang on. All right.
And it's a classic quarterback sneak. And there you are, laying on the turf, your entire career in front of you. I gotta know. I just gotta know what you're thinking at that time as you're laying there with this knee injury, and nobody knows how long you're gonna be out. And I'm 3 IPAs deep trying to write my column, and I'm calling around the league just trying to figure out how long are we gonna be without the great Pat Mahomes. And I just gotta know what is going through your head at that time.
I was thinking, gee whiz, that hurt like the dickens. My knee was smarting and I didn't know which way my ankle was pointing at the time. Fortunately, Andy Reid came over. He said, your daddy played baseball, Patrick, and he should have learned you to slide a little bit better than that. And I said, that's fair, Coach. You're a fair man. Please phrase all your remaining questions to me in the form of a haiku, please.
I don't have my haikus ready just yet. It's 3 to 4 more IPAs before those really start flowing. But Pat, it's just been an honor to watch you in your first 2 years. I remember Marino when he came in, and nobody expected what he did. And this is like when Marino came in, and here's Pat Mahomes, and it's just full circle.
Thank you. Hopefully I win a couple more rings in Old Thunder Dan. We're going to certainly work hard on that this weekend. Let me know if everything's satisfactory in your hotel this weekend. By the way, I'm a big fan of the Starwood Preferred Travel Notes of the Week.
There we go.
He was pretty good.
That's a great. I was intimidated because of how good the Peter King impression is.
It's like the only
that is spot on.
It's all I could do.
So he was really nervous about it. He's like, I'm not sure I can pull it off. I was like, dude, it's so
great.
good. I feel like I'm talking to Peter.
Yeah, Peter is. He's got a very distinctive way of speaking about himself and the league, and I think you nailed it. That was perfect. There's something serious I want to bring up about this negotiation that I'm about to enter in with Chris. Maybe I can get your help with it.
Let's talk about
I want to enter into some sort of licensing agreement with you guys for my next-gen stat of fullback assists, which I've been tracking. Is it possible, just you guys knowing your company as you do, do you think there'd be any interest in investing in my brain for that stat? It's proprietary, so you guys can't use it without my permission.
I think we could work something out.
I think we could do it. Can you run the math on that? Can you
What I need is
throw an algorithm on that thing?
What we need is a proof of concept.
Well, we have one.
Demonstration.
We have one. I tracked them all this year.
Okay. Do you have a PowerPoint that you can show us?
I don't know what that is.
We believe in PowerPoints here.
Okay. I can. Yeah. I can.
Do you have a graph? Just any graph.
You have some graffiti that breaks this down.
I'll get my intern Billy Football to put together a PowerPoint about that. He's
can you
pretty
explain?
good.
A napkin, anything.
A fullback assist is anytime there's a rushing touchdown from 5 yards in or closer, and there is a fullback as a lead blocker on the play. So, the running back obviously gets credit for the touchdown. The fullback gets an assist.
Yeah.
We haven't tracked, whether or not he actually executes a block on the play, but as long as he's lined up in a lead blocking position and the running back scores a touchdown.
That's what we do.
What if we combine the two?
Yeah.
So PFF grades the block, obviously.
Okay.
So we could know if it was a successful block, and then we could take that inside the 5 annotation, delineation.
You could take assist to the next level. You can, everybody gets an assist, but if you actually make a good block, it's like an assist plus. It's something.
I like that
next
assist.
level.
Yeah, what's your hat on a hat percentage?
Yes.
Hat on a hat.
That you
Inside the 5, hat
inside
on a
the
hat
5.
percentage.
I like that.
I like that a lot too, because I do it kind of as a joke, but also there's something to the fact that fullbacks don't really get credit sometimes for making those blocks, and they're the ones that, if you look at it was the Oakland-Chicago game in London this year. Alec Ingold, he dove over the goal line like you would see a tailback do, stretching the ball out, but he dove over the goal line to block 2 linebackers that were behind the line, takes them out of the way, then Jacobs dives over the top and he scores a touchdown. It's like, well, Alex should probably get some sort of credit
Did
for.
you give him 2 assists for that, or can you only max out at 1?
See, there are some flaws in the system that we're working. This is why we need to have this conversation. He only got 1.
So we give grades on a level of from -2 to +2, but in 0.5s.
Okay.
So a great block like that might get a +1 or a +1.5, and we could scale the hat on hat assist number based on that.
Big time assists.
Yeah, big time assists.
I like
Big time
that.
assists. BTAs.
Big time hat on hat.
I like
Big
that.
time hat on.
I like that a lot. There's So there's definitely some opportunity for some synergy here.
Have your people reach out to our people, and we'll
I think we
we'll
just need to
workshop
try
some
and make
ideas
this
here.
happen. We need to try and get Chris in a room.
I got one last question for you guys. I got to duck out real quick and do our radio show here. But are you doing anything with XFL? Are you tracking?
We are. We're
Okay.
grading every single player.
All right. Can you do me a favor? Can you just downgrade the shit out of every single kicker?
Yeah.
And so that around the league, people are like, wow, we've got a kicking problem. I wonder if there's anybody that we can call that can be a step up.
The funny thing
So are
is,
you going to keep training?
Oh, kicker grades might be tough to downgrade, made field goals.
Well, no,
Let's
they're
make sure
You could
there's
find a way.
There are good makes and there are bad makes.
That's true. We do differentiate.
Do you actually?
Kind of. I mean, it depends on how far it is.
There's
and all
a
that.
difference between right down the
We
middle.
we do actually
Doink.
track. Is it down the middle? Is it inside right, inside left, and all that nonsense?
Okay. Yeah.
So
Listen.
we can doctor things up a little bit.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, just downgrade everybody.
Sure, he made all his field goals, but barely.
Yeah, but he didn't look
Wasn't
good
that
doing them. Yeah,
We should also write a few articles about the
We'll get you on
potential
that.
for the offensive weapon kicker.
that's true. Yeah.
So we can definitely
Putting him on the field.
best available free agents and stuff like that.
Best of all, yeah, I would love to be on that list. And I've got a secret weapon, the onside kick. My onside kick is, it's better than Young Wei Cruz. I'll put it that way.
Really?
Yeah, and he's the best in the business.
It's
right
totally different from how he does it. There's no kicker that does it like I do. I am actually training. I'm going to keep training for it.
That's
So-
what the class pass is for?
That's what the class passes for. Just get my right leg to be extremely flexible. My goal is by the end of February to be back hitting 51 yarders. So if I can get back to that distance, I feel like I should get a call at some point, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, especially if we're your hype machine.
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
So
There we go.
We'll work together. We've got a lot of business opportunities here. I was not expecting that.
Yeah. There's no money changing hands, but a lot of business opportunities.
That's
We'll
what,
have-
that's
we'll
what
have
all
to
real
follow up.
business is
Yeah.
anyways,
We'll,
right? It's
we'll
like
let the
talking
marketing
about...
people, we'll let the boys in the back figure out
That's
how to
what the
make money
Super
off
Bowl is all about this whole week.
that was awesome,
networking.
man.
That was good, yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, of course, man.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah.